Nikki, you number one. You first, huh? All right, what's going on, Nikki? Well, a Clubhouse. I just opened Clubhouse for the live stream. We're on a bunch of other different platforms, but I'm just getting in the habit of opening Clubhouse in case you guys want to listen in on some of this stuff. You're more than welcome to ask questions and all of the things while we get set up. The 40 don'ts for entrepreneurs. I love this stuff. What's up, James? Mic check.
What's going on, man?
What's going on? What's going on? Put a one in the chat if y'all can hear James all right. He's over on the TikTok side. But we've got to do the sound checks and all the good stuff.
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I'm talking about Clubhouse. Clubhouse, put a one in the chat if y'all can hear James. There's always a little confusion.
Hey, James.
What's up, Rose?
Hey, Hey.
All right, y'all, you ready to start this? You ready to start this conversation? I'm to Clubhouse. Put a one in the chat if you can hear us all right. I want you to be able to hear all the other guests too. So if you're on Clubhouse and you can hear the other guests behind me, put a one in the chat. Thank you, Jermaine. What's going on, brother? Welcome back. Rose, what's going on, sis? James, what's going on, man? This is right up your alley, bro.
Listen, hold on before we start.
I'm trying to get my pictures to not look crooked because they're not crooked. But
It's just your phone.
Before we start, Otis. Before we start,
yes.
To help you go viral. So, do you see the little orange heart above there?
Popular live.
Well, next to your name, there's a heart.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Okay, so they are incentivizing people to engage with you, and they have to meet those goals. So when they come in, tell them to follow the orange heart or click on the orange heart and do what it says. Like leave a comment, like, send some coins, and that's how you get above, to the mainstream of TikTok.
Okay. All right.
It's all about engagement.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Can you multitask that?
No.
I
just don't care.
I know you can.
I be trying to pretend like I care more than I don't care.
I think you just did it. You just did it, Rose.
I didn't do anything.
Right?
Did Rose do? Okay, I'm gonna tap it one time and see what it does. All right. Oh, see now all this other stuff comes in.
See, I'm on level 3 with you. I've been engaging with you.
Look, I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Look, I'm on TikTok and I'll be talking. I'm just seeing balloons pop up and firecrackers go off behind me and all types of other stuff. I'm like, look, I'm just somebody's dad trying to figure it out. I figure if people engage, I want the right people, and I may not get the most people, but I want the right people. But I'm okay. But you gonna have to tell them because I'm not even paying attention to that.
I'll tell them. I'll be the moderator and tell them what to do.
Okay. Because look above my head right now is a kitten flashing above my head. I don't know what that is. Matter of fact, to anybody over 45, that'll give you anxiety. all this stuff going on. It's almost like you're trying to talk and you got a bunch of young people running around.
I tapped your face and there's a whole bunch of stuff I could pick, but like there's a rose. I'm not picking a rose. There's like a little heart thing. I'm not picking a heart.
Yeah, you better not pick no heart or no rose.
There's a pink heart. I'm definitely not picking a pink heart puff. So I picked the kitten.
My God.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get it. We'll make it happen. No. If one dude sends me a rose, the live is over.
Stop it.
If one dude sends me a rose or a pink heart, the live is over.
Tell them to send you a galaxy instead.
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know.
That costs money. Well, you get money.
Oh, people.
You get money.
Oh, yeah. No, I really can't do it. Folks, you guys on Clubhouse, that's I just put in the chat my handle for TikTok if you guys want to come over on TikTok and see what
I just ran out. I got to buy more now.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't. I don't. So what happens is when I'm putting together a nonprofit, and I'm adding that nonprofit into my overall legal structure. So there's certain things, and this is evidence of what I'm trying to do for the nonprofit. So I can't ask people for anything on these lives because I can't have anything to gain from these lives. So I mean, I can invite people to join our real estate family and all that other stuff, but there's a fine line, right? And I don't care. So there's that.
Right.
Yeah, I did check my live account. I made 4 cents yesterday, so I don't know if everybody on Clubhouse or Facebook, and if y'all want to come over, we could spend that and just put that towards a good time. I don't know. I get nervous when money shows up in there because I'm like, I don't know how it got there. I don't even know how to take it out of there. That's how bad it is. It's just going to sit there.
I got like 22 cents in there.
Yeah, well, we need to put it together.
I've been giving you guys roses. That's the reason why.
Hey, so I don't know. I got a problem. So because I'm in Colombia, my account is Colombian, and I don't know how to change it to a U. Actually, I can't. Actually, I do know how now because I looked into it, but I can't just easily change it to a U.S. account. So that kind of sucks. So, anyways, the point I was gonna make is I make it in pesos, in Colombian pesos.
Pesos.
Okay.
Yeah. So everybody, please don't send me no money. I'm not trying to do all
Which
that.
is not great for the conversion rate, by the way.
Yes, I do. USA home investors.
Hey man, okay. All right, folks, we're gonna get it together. I promise we're gonna get it together. All right. So welcome everybody. My name is Otis James. I'm a full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. We are getting over into the entrepreneurship space. So we're really going to be building that up over the next few months, all the way up till our business retreat in Medellin, Colombia, called Venture U. Venture U is venture, like venture capitalist, joint venture. It's spelled the same way with the letter U at the end. And it is geared towards people that are entrepreneurs looking to scale up, or people that are not yet entrepreneurs that want to go into that space. And I'm just facilitating a process to get them everything they need in a very short amount of time. So we'll bounce back and forth. We'll talk about some real estate stuff sometimes. We'll talk about some entrepreneurial stuff. Philip, what's up, man? Deja, welcome back. Lisa, good to see you. So folks over on Clubhouse, feel free to come up on stage if you want to and ask any questions. If we're talking about a particular topic, don't be afraid to switch it up. If you got a real estate question and you come in and you've been waiting to ask a real estate question, and we happen to be talking about the price of rice in China, don't be afraid to come up and ask your real estate question, because the goal is to make sure people get educated. And we're going to try to package this information in a way that's easily received and not hurt anybody's feelings. All right. So I've got a whole slew of don'ts on the entrepreneurship side. And just because I'm talking about what you should do and what you shouldn't do, it's not coming from a place of, hey, I know everything, I did it all right. A lot of these are coming from a place of, I did it all wrong and had to pay for it. So these are things that I learned along the way. Some things I did right, some things I did wrong. But we are the sum total of every decision we've made up to this point. So I take full responsibility for where I am. But I can save you a lot of time, energy, and money if you just listen, implement, and listen to our perspectives. James, go ahead and introduce yourself to give them some context of who you are and your background, young brother. Well, I say young brother. I mean, I'm younger than you, but you know what? It's that no one's counting. It's fine.
Yeah. So what's up? So I have my name is James Lewis. I live actually in Medellin, Colombia. So I am an expat. I have basically a lot of experience kind of working with some large businesses. I've got I'm also an entrepreneur. I've got some other businesses, but look, I'm a business coach. Essentially, I help entrepreneurs. I help folks with businesses of all sizes. So love anytime I can have some opportunity to talk about business. I love doing so.
All right, Rose, you an entrepreneuress? Is that a word? I made that up just now. Is entrepreneuress? Oh, let's adopt it. Rose, you with us?
I like that. Entrepreneuress.
Entrepreneuress. Don't ask me how to spell it. Don't ask me how to spell it.
I guess we add the ESS at the end.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Just
say it with confidence so no one knows it's not a thing.
Right. Entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneurs.
There you go. Yeah,
all right. Awesome.
Hey, we'll work on it, folks.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Rose Lewis. I am also known as Credit Goddess. I am all things credit. Been in the credit space since 2014. I've started off educating friends and family, and then I was in high demand to actually offer this as a service to my clients. I vertically integrated business credit and also business funding. So I help entrepreneurs get in the best place for funding, starting with, pre-revenue to post-revenue funding I help with. And I lead with education just so we are sound consumers and we are um, knowledgeable on what type of funding is best for whatever it is that we're doing, especially here in the real estate space. You want to be able to tap into the right type of funding and not pick the wrong ones, especially starting off. So I help with that, and I'm here to support Otis and James here with the Ford Data Point Academy. With any credit related questions, I am here. Thank you for having me.
Amen. Now,
Hey, so Rose, just so you know, the Spanish word is actually very similar. It's empresario.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
empresaria. So is that entrepreneur in Spanish?
yeah, because empresario is like a business, so you can say empresario.
Oh, nice. Okay, just learned something new. Thank you.
I mean, I know stuff too. I know words that mean other words too. It's not like,
You're so silly, Otis.
All right,
You never
folks.
feel left out.
I know some stuff too. Shoot, I know there and there, right? There, THERE is not. No, it's not. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
No.
Yeah, no one's counting. Folks, I'm a full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of California and the state of Georgia. I'm a long-term hold investor. I've consulted on multiple development projects, domestic and abroad. I spent the better part of 20 years in the multifamily commercial industry. I left at the corporate level, overseeing just under $650 million in multifamily commercial assets. I took $585 and created a company that went on to generate seven figures in the short time that I had it. That was non-real estate related. I was in mortgage finance for about 13 years. We funded just short of $1 billion, me and my dad in our office back in the day. We also had a real estate brokerage back in the day. Let me see what else. What else do I do? I've only done this intro 1,200 times. Let me see. Oh, I'm the founder of the 4 Data Points Academy. That's probably what I'm most widely known for. 4 Data Points Academy is well known for being one of the only platforms to teach people how to invest in real estate that does not have an end date and that does not require people to keep paying over time to get educated. And so it's really continued education in perpetuity and unlimited support. I do other things that are way more impressive on paper than in real life. I'm licensed in insurance. No, I'm not in the insurance business, but leveraging insurance policies is a tool for real estate. I had a notary signing agent company years ago. I've been exposed to real estate since I was a toddler, folks. And y'all old schoolers know wasn't no babysitting back. James, did you ever have a babysitter? I wasn't no babysitter. I went to work with my dad. Yeah, wasn't no babysitters, back then.
My grandma never had a job, so
so some of you guys know, man. I went to work with my dad, so I was sitting in real estate meetings at 3 years old, just absorbing all of this stuff, and I was fortunate enough to go through some hardships that forced me to bounce around in different areas of real estate. I always gravitated towards real estate because you kind of gravitate towards what you know, right? So, I was on I was on the operations side. I worked my way up from leasing apartments to overseeing large portfolios for the different ownership groups and pretty much everything in between, mortgage finance, real estate sales, all the stuff to where now, and I didn't plan on putting together a company to teach people how to invest in real estate because I didn't think people wanted to. It's not something that I was always super excited about. It was just my normal life, right? It was just my normal. What's up, Jasmine? It's just my normal everyday stuff, right? So, I really hold value in all of those hardships because it forced me to switch into another aspect of real estate to get in a position to one day teach it to people, right? And be able to coach people through a lot of these hardships and all of the other things. But the first company that I put together that generated seven figures was not in real estate. It was utilized an outsourcing business model. And, so on the entrepreneurship side, it's always been easy for me to generate capital. It hasn't always been easy to generate capital when I want it, right? Like if I want to generate some capital tomorrow, it hasn't always been easy because there's a lot beyond our control. But I've always been fascinated with all of the opportunity in this country to be able to generate capital, and I always nerd out to situations where I can create something from nothing, right? Like if I woke up tomorrow and I lost everything the day before, how would I build it back? And I'm 100% confident that I would be able to do so, right? Because we're a lot of us, especially in the real estate investing space, enough things go bad at the same time, you could be right back to square one really, really quick. So I don't take it for granted, where I am and my ability to continuously not just get to the next level, but bring people with me. And again, it's not because I know everything. It's because, a lot of what I learned is from doing things wrong and paying for it dearly. So other people don't have to. But on the entrepreneurial side, there are some do's and don'ts that are really, really basic. And hold on, I'm switching screens here. I've got all these different platforms. So we're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Shoot, Christian Singles Meet. No, we're not. We're not on Christian Singles Meet. All right. Black Planet. That was for you, Darren. Okay, all right. That's we're not. All right. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the first one. Do's and don'ts for entrepreneurship. And I love this stuff, man. People that are getting into entrepreneurship, they don't always appreciate the grind in the beginning. I was having a conversation with somebody that participated in one of our projects. So I'll put projects together for our real estate family, and 99% of them go well, but there's some that can go bad. Christy, no, oh yeah, I think there's replays. I think the replays are on for this. But there are some things that can go bad, and there's this one project that I've been carrying that has just been wearing me out financially, and so we were having the conversation this morning about how you get to the point you got to deal with all these different things, not just the positive but the negative, and you got to ask yourself a question like, are you built for this or not? So there's a few things that I say all of the time that I think people know me for. One is, I'll go ahead and explain whatever the challenge is, and at the end I always say, but I'm built for this, right? Everybody isn't, right? And the other thing I always say is just stay in the fight. What separates successful people from people that never get there is the people that never get there aren't willing to stay in the fight. And sometimes that means fighting when you have absolutely nothing in sight or the near future to gain. Your only motivation is fighting for the sake of fighting. And at that point, you got to dig deep. If you're somebody that always needs that external motivation, then that's not going to be there forever. And you got to make a determination. Look, am I going to move forward? Am I built for this? Or am I not? Me, in my mind, I have no choice. I'm a support system for a lot of people. So even when I get fatigued, even when I get worn out, even when I get to the point where I want to give up, there is no plan B. There is no option, right? There is no other option. So, I've just conditioned myself to do that. So you're going to hear a lot of things. So James, the first one is going to be, don't start without a real problem to solve. And I want your take on that, because you and I have talked about this in the presence of other people in these entrepreneurship conversations. And it's a mistake, because if you're not solving a meaningful problem, no one's going to buy it. Now, of course, there are exceptions to that, right? 8 years ago, I spent $1,700 on a snakeskin jacket that has never seen the light of day, which is probably one of the dumbest purchases I ever made. But the person that made that jacket was not solving a problem, right? That was a poor spend on my part. I don't know what I was thinking. So there are exceptions to the rule, but I doubt that person is still in business. So I will say this. So why is it a mistake? I just mentioned, if you're not solving a meaningful problem, no one's going to buy it. And I think you should validate your product or service to see if it addresses the pain points that people are willing to pay for. So when I say don't start without solving a real problem, James, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I remember a long time ago, very, very long time ago, I think I was in a class, and somebody asked, the professor asked, or whoever was teaching the class, asked, what's the point of a business? And everybody, most of the people said, hey, to make money, right? Which is a fantastic answer. And he was like, no, the answer is to solve a problem, right? That is the purpose of a business. And so you're 100% right. If you're not solving a problem, your business has no purpose. And so you're going to struggle to make money. And here's the second part from my perspective. I have a lot of people who I encounter that seek out my advice, and in the course of me counseling them, I try to help them find the purpose of what they're doing. And here's what I hear. What I hear is, hey, I've got this idea and I have a lot of passion around it, right? Basically what I hear is a want,
Yeah.
right? And like, there's this thing I want to do, and maybe there's all these reasons why I want to do it. But is there a need, right? Want versus need. And the reality is you got to understand that need weighs a lot more than want.
Amen. Amen. And folks, you guys that are listening on TikTok, please go ahead and share the room if it's not too much trouble. I will say don't share the room if you're driving or preoccupied with something that requires your attention. But the more people that know about who we are, the more opportunities we can create for people that wouldn't otherwise have them. Don't chase ideas without testing them first. This is a big one because we have a finite amount of resources. And if you haven't tested your product or service first, and you put all your eggs in that basket, and that basket sinks to the bottom of the ocean, you are dead in the water. And you've got to get really creative after that. And this works better, in my opinion, for service-based businesses because you don't have inventory, right? So the mechanics, you don't have to deal with the supply chain and all of the things surrounding having a physical product. And one of the conversations that I've had with, this is one of my students on the real estate side, but a lot of my students have other businesses. So we were talking about their other business, and I told her that, I said, you may want to gauge the demand for what it is you're going to provide before you start investing your resources into that thing. So I talked to her about, having, workshops, virtual this, virtual that, to see if she can get her finger on the pulse of, is this something that people really want? And it actually ended up working out for her. Like, I mean, she didn't get rich off of it, but it gave her enough information to determine it's not always whether you should move forward or not, but it gave her enough information to determine how she should move forward and some of the things that she needs to tweak with respect to defining the service that she was going to offer. Right. So, James, I'm going to ask for your input on this. Don't chase ideas without testing them first. What would you say to
Yeah,
this?
so I'm very fortunate. I always say I'm lucky because
Because you know
at a
me.
really young, at a really, yeah, sure. At a
That's-
really young age,
Sorry.
I got a job at, a Fortune 500 company, and most of my jobs, I've only hadn't had a bunch of them, but I've worked at these Fortune 50 companies really. And they have everything figured out. They really do. They've got all this stuff figured out. And so that's really the experience I lean on. Here's the reason I say that. I just know all this stuff from a history standpoint. And there's a really great example of this. So JCPenney, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, had some new CEO. And they came out with this new pricing strategy. Okay. Now, typically when you come up with something, you want to pilot it first. Okay. It's a really good idea, right? It's why they come up with that word, pilot. It's literally what it means. So they came up with this new pricing strategy, and the new CEO was like, I love this idea. It's a fantastic idea. Let's roll it out. And the rest of the company was like, hey, you don't want to pilot it first? Are you sure? He was like, no, I love it. Wall Street was like, hey, you don't think it's a good idea to pilot it first? He was like, no, this is going to work. We're going to roll it out. So he rolled it out company-wide, didn't pilot it at all. It was a massive failure. It was completely confusing to their customers. Sales dropped. It was horrible. The CEO got fired. And the company really never fully rebounded. So there's an example. You got to test stuff, all right?
Yes.
You don't ever roll anything completely out. And I've encountered a lot of businesses, small businesses, folks, again, that reach out to me that have done that, it's a massive, massive mistake. You have to test stuff. Don't ever wholesale change something in your business without first testing it.
Absolutely. And even on the real estate side, when we're doing, so there's different levels to real estate investing. And the first level is learning how to invest. The next level is having a real estate investing business. And even within your business, there's certain aspects of your business that you should apply this principle to. For example, if you were doing a certain type of marketing, then there's certain types of marketing that work better than other types. So if you're placing ads to try to get conversations with potential sellers, because we're always trying to buy properties at a discount, you got to test certain things. So if you have a marketing budget of $20,000 and you just put all $20,000 into one medium, there's no guarantee that that's going to work. But if you spread it around, let me put $2,000 in this one, $2,000 in this one, $2,000 in this one, and $2,000 in that one, and see which one performs, because we make database decisions, right? See which one performs, and then you can allocate resources according to which one's performing and which one's not. So keep in mind, real estate investing is a business once you get to a certain point in your past, you having to do everything. But all of these principles apply to, whatever you're doing. But basically, we don't chase ideas without testing them first, because you could waste time and money on an idea that has no demand. So there's something called MVP, right? A minimum viable product. And that's more actually, I'm not going to get into that. That's more product driven. So let's go. We can come back to that. Number 3 is don't try to do everything yourself. James, I'm going to let you take this one. Don't try to do everything yourself. And I'm going to tell you what happens when you do try to do that. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm actually going to do a video on this tomorrow. So like me here on Instagram if you want to see that. So I have these 7 rules. Rule number 3 actually is build a team. Here's the example. I talk to people, especially entrepreneurs, all the time, who think they can't afford to build a team. Here's the thing. The average business in the United States makes about $40,000 a year. I don't think you started a business to make $40,000 a year. It's not enough to get out of poverty in most places in the United States. So the one statistic that tells you how much money your business is going to make is how many employees you're going to have, right? So if you have 5 employees, you're going to make just under $500,000, it's like 480, whatever it is. If you have 10 employees, the average business makes just around $1 million. So it's about 1 to 100,000 is what it comes down to. So you want to quickly get to a place where you can hire people. All right, so build a team. You want to hire people. So here's the thing. I was having a conversation once with a client. Says, hey man, I can't afford to hire people. Okay, this person made candles. That's what they did. He's making the candles in his garage. I said, all right, well, let's talk through that. Your last batch of candles, how much money did you make? He's like, hey, I made $8,000. Perfect. How much time did it cost you, or how much time did it take you to make those candles? He said, it took me about 20 hours. All right, perfect. So if you call a temp agency, all right, what's minimum wage in your area, and it's going to cost, how much it's going to cost you to hire somebody to make those candles, all right? Minimum wage, $10 an hour. All right, perfect. Let's say you hire 2 people, all right? Just do the math. What's that? The 2 people, 20, that's $400. So if you spent $400 and those people made those candles, right? That's $8,000 of product that you spent $400 to make. Now, if you didn't spend those 20 hours, because you also have a day job, if you didn't spend those 20 hours making those candles, what would you then do with those 20 hours? He's like, oh, I'd go and sell, right? Or I'd come up with new recipes. Fantastic, right? Now you're making more money, you can generate more product, right? So now you've got a bigger menu of product, right? So now instead of having 1 candle, you now have 2 candles. So you've hired people, now you've got 2 flavors of candles. How much money are you making now? Well, now you're making $16,000. Why? Because you built a team. That is how you start to have employees and see how it exponentially start to make more money. So you got to start quickly getting to a place where you can hire more people, and you just got to start hiring more people. Find stuff for them to do. The last thing I'll tell you is, where do you start hiring more people at? You lean towards places where they're going to help you make money. What happens is, a lot of times people want to find people to help them do the busy stuff. The problem is that costs you money. Okay. You want to hire people in places that's going to help you make a dollar. Okay. Anything that's going to help you make a dollar, that's going to help you produce more and help you hire more and make your business make more. So great tip.
And where can we find that video that you were talking about that you were going to make? Is it Pornhub or RedTube? I'm not. Was it? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you. I didn't miss.
Well, I'll send it to you, and you can post it on your Grindr.
That's why you don't do live streams with people you grew up with. He was talking for 4 minutes. After 15 seconds, I was like, I'm gonna roast him. That's why we can't ever get nothing accomplished. Be like, hey, bro, I can't wait to get out there to Medellin. I to hang out with you, man. Folks, James and I were very, who is it speaking now? So that's James. So he's over on TikTok. That's James Lewis. Most of the time he's over here with us on Clubhouse, but I don't schedule the Clubhouse rooms anymore. I just do these pop-up ones. But you can find him. He's over on TikTok. If you guys, I'm at 4 data points. I put it in the chat. If you come over, you'll see him. Go ahead and give him a like and a follow. The brother is well-versed on the entrepreneurship coaching side of things. Don't try to do everything yourself. That's what he was just talking about. You'll get burned out. And I think people think that when you hear a lot of people that say they're getting burned out, I don't believe are actually burned out. I think they're maybe tired, they're maybe fatigued. But when you get burned out, like you're in a place where it's almost, I think there was 2 points in my life where I felt like, oh, this is what it feels like to have a nervous breakdown. And I was tired for a long time. I was fatigued, and it's really not the stuff that makes you tired and fatigued and burned out. What really makes you burned out the quickest is your perspective on everything. And if it's not a healthy perspective, then there's an emotional component on the entrepreneurship side that can contribute to your burnout, right? You start seeing things differently. So it's something that we're going to get into some other tips to avoid burnout as we progress. But I want to kind of put a bookmark in the burnout conversation, because if you are abiding by a lot of these things that we're talking about, you can avoid that. And it's better that you avoid it than have to experience it and then recover from that, because it is a tough road, especially when you are, some of you guys are the support system for a lot of other people. And if you are the support system and you experience burnout, it's not the same as if you're working a job 9 to 5 and you experience burnout, right? Because you can quit that job. If you are the support system, you can't quit that. You have to go, not because of how you feel, but in spite of how you feel. So I want to put a bookmark in that. So we'll come back to it. Number 4, don't undervalue your time. Oh, this is a hard one, because when you're first starting out, you don't really have the luxury of, oh man, James, I'm gonna throw this one to you, man, because I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna go after you. Don't undervalue your time. Underpricing leads to resentment, right? Exhaustion and unsustainable operations, right? And I want to talk about the value of time in a second. But James, when you hear that, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Don't undervalue your time.
Well, so there's a couple places you can take this. So in the context that you just said it, I'm going to say 2 things about this. The context that you just said it is, I'm going to say don't undervalue your product, what it is that your offer is. Because if you undervalue it, people will also undervalue it. And the example I give people is, think about, Mercedes versus Honda, right? You can take a Honda that's fully equipped, and then you can take the base Mercedes, and that Honda is dramatically better in terms of features and everything that it offers. It's just a dramatically better car. That's just the reality of it. but it costs less, right? It's just a reality. It costs less. And the person who wants to buy the Mercedes doesn't want the Honda. They just don't. They want to pay more for the Mercedes. From their perspective, the value is better. That's the way they look at it. Okay. So if you price that Mercedes lower, people are going to be like, it devalues the brand. Okay. So if you want your brand to be higher, charge more, period. And so there's that part of it. Now, here's the other thing I'll say. I had somebody tell me once, really good friend of both Otis and I, he said, at the time I was making pretty good money, but I was working my tail off. I was working like 75 hours a week, and I was tired. My back hurt, and because I was on my feet all day. I was managing a car dealership, a huge, massive car dealership. And I was probably making $35,000 a month at the time. And he said, James, I make money with my mind and not my back.
Oh, I know who that was. Shout out to Dimitri Mills, who didn't had it. He been squared away ever since we was teenagers. I think he was the first one to have a house, first one to have a car. Go ahead.
And here's what was funny about that is, we were on a video call at the time, and he was in Cabo, and behind him was the beach, and he was sipping on some cocktail with an umbrella in it. And it was actually, I was getting ready to head down there, and it was like a mind shift for me that happened at that time. I was like, man, I'm doing this wrong. And look, just what that meant for me, beyond the first part of what I just said is, time is precious, right? It really is. And as a business owner, you want to find ways to put your business, and you do this by having a team, by being effective, having processes in place. There's so many ways you can do this in your business, but you want to put yourself in a position as a business owner where the business is running itself so that you have time, right? That's one of the reasons we start a business, and so that we have time and freedom, because, that's what time means, right? Is freedom to do the things that we want to do. Time really, truly is precious. It's probably the most valuable thing that you have in your life. You want to spend it with your family, and you want to go travel and do all those things. If you don't have time, right? If you've got 4 or 5 different businesses, then really you don't have a business. Quite honestly, you've got a bunch of hobbies, you got a bunch of side hustles, right? You don't really have a successful business. That's not really what you want to do. Okay, you don't want to trade time for money, right? It's not what you want to do. You want to have a successful business that generates wealth. And that's a completely different thing.
Absolutely. And shout out to Jasmine. Thank you, Jasmine Spice. I don't know what you did, but a bunch of stuff happened I saw on the screen. So you must have did something positive. So thank you, sis. And also thank you to those that just shared the room on TikTok. It's much appreciated. So about 2 decades ago, I was go ahead, Jasmine. Well, are those coins? Is this coins? Girl, I'm about to hit TJ Maxx after this. Go ahead, Jasmine. Thank you so much. I was when I was a real estate professional, and I was really just getting into it. It was like 2003, and this was back when in the Bay Area you could still buy a house for under $500,000, and I was working with these clients, and I was obviously I was younger, but a lot of my circle was younger too. So my clients were a lot younger. They weren't as established. So many times I was putting people in their first home, and that experience brought me a lot of fulfillment. I loved it. I stopped enjoying that process when I started working with $1 million clients. I was like, they could a monkey can do what I'm doing. If they're, $1 million clients they don't need my help. Right. So I was thinking about the commission at one point, and that was, I think it was about a $15,000. They ended up buying about a $500,000 home. So that was about a $15,000 commission. And even back then I was like, $15,000, that's a nice chunk of change for, being on the buying side of real estate. And, I started thinking about it, and I thought, we looked at 185 homes, 185 homes. I mean, we would look at, 15 homes, a week on a day of the weekend. Many weekends we go out both days, and we did this for months. And I'm like, the amount of time and energy that I spent in doing that. See, on the outside looking in, people always look at real estate professionals on closing date when they get the check. Like, well, shoot, all you do is open the door. This is the living room. This is the, and they don't look at all of the other support stuff. And it was after doing that a few times where I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to be on the buyer's side anymore. I can't justify the time to do that. So what happened was, is that Dwayne? Dwayne? That may not be the right Dwayne, because I don't see his picture. Um, so I couldn't really justify doing that. So from then on, I became a listing agent, which means I only represented sellers and not buyers because of that, because of the time. Now, in service-based business, you got to be much more strategic in how you manage your time. And specifically, um, I think that there's different levels to it because you have a certain thought process that most of us have when we're building a brand. And that thought process is, thank you, Jasmine. I didn't think it was Dwayne, the real Dwayne. And then there's certain thought processes that you have once you've been established. For example, when we're building a brand, I'm very, I was much more liberal with my time. Now I'm much more conservative. Conversations that I would have in the beginning because I want to establish the brand and show everybody all the value of what it is we do. Some of those conversations I no longer have, right? Now, if you want my time, I still offer the free stuff. I'll always do that because somebody out there just needs a shot and they don't have the money, right? So I'll always offer the free stuff if they're willing to actually listen, take advantage of the opportunity and walk through the door. But for the everyday person that I come across, they have to pay for the time. And people will try to steal your time. Can I get can I get explicit for a second? Can I? No? All right, I'm not going to put a 1 in the chat, Clubhouse, if I could talk to you guys like adults for just 1 second. I gotta get people's permission because people get offended real early. So Clubhouse, if you're on Clubhouse, put a 1 in the chat if I could talk to you guys like adults.
I think you get flagged on TikTok or something like that.
And then we just gonna have to get flagged. Okay. Somebody was trying to somebody on TikTok put a 1. It was like, talk to me like an adult. So this is how people steal your time. You entrepreneurs know this, right? Here's an indication that somebody is trying to steal your time. You get a message. Hey man, could you give me a call real sec? I got something I want to go over and I value your opinion. No, I can't. I can't do that. I can't. And there was a young lady that was in business who she never wanted to listen. She wasn't calling me for coaching. She was a friend. She was in my circle of influence. And she was talking about, we were talking about the value of time. And I told her, I said, imagine my time. I'm not going to say it. Sometimes the Holy Spirit will say, don't say it like that. Okay. I'm going to see if you guys can use your imagination. Imagine my time. I'm talking to this young lady. Imagine my time is the equivalent of your blank. Now you guys should know what the blank is because I'm the world we live in. I can't just say it. Imagine my time is the equivalent of your blank. It wouldn't be right for me to just take your blank. That's how I feel about it when you try to take and steal my time, especially the expectation. That's even worse than actually doing it, right? So the expectation. And that was a very, very extreme example, but keep in mind the context. Her and I were talking about this for a long time and it ended up turning into an argument. So that was at the tail end of the argument. That wasn't the analogy that I started with. So it was, we were going back and forth for about 15 minutes. And I was like, okay, well, look, you know how the arguments start getting more heated. Okay. Well, how about this? And then we went into that, right? Now, that was an inappropriate analogy, which is why I didn't articulate it the way that I did in real time right now. But you get how extreme I feel about that, right? And there's a lot of lessons that have to be learned on the entrepreneurial side. And this actually ties into, undervaluing yourself and what you do. And what James said, if you don't value what you do, you can't expect somebody else to do it. Time is the only, well, hold on 1 second, James. Time is the only thing that we can't get back. And we all only have so many minutes left on this planet. And we have to, I'm not going to say I had to come to a decision of how I wanted to preserve my time. And it's not just dealing with potential clients or in the business world, it's period all together, right? Who do I want to give my time? So what I do is I invest my time with people. I don't spend my time with people. So if I'm talking with somebody, and it doesn't matter if they're paying me or not, if I'm talking with somebody about any aspect of business, I am investing my time with them because that investment is going to yield a return. Now that return may not be directly for me. The return could be, you guys call it karma and all types of other stuff. I say, if I invest my time with somebody and they go on to be successful, even though I don't see that or have a direct benefit, the Holy Spirit will bring it back and so on and so forth. So that's my perspective on it. Go ahead, James. I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
No. So here's how I used to deal with that when I had a bunch of employees. So calendar, okay? So imagine, I had 300 employees, okay? And so constantly my phone's ringing, constantly on radio, constantly people are coming up to me, right? And so what I would do is, I would tell people, if somebody would come up to me, and I would say, hang on, I want to at least hear what they have to say briefly, because I want to know the priority. I got to understand what they're coming at me with, because if I don't, I might miss something that's a really high priority. But then they would say, hey, I want to talk to you about X. And what I would say is, hey, do me a favor, send me a calendar invite. All right. So I'm putting it on them, right? You're going to send me a calendar invite. What you're not going to do, though, is disrupt my whole day. Okay. You're not just going to come and take my time. You can send me a calendar invite. If I'm okay with the time that you've selected on my calendar, great. If not, I can choose a different time. But the other thing about technology is, you know how to use your calendar. It shows the times that are available, the time slots that are available, so they can pick a time slot that's available on your calendar. So you can do that. When somebody calls you, when somebody sends you a text, whatever, you can reply, send me a calendar invite. You want to have a conversation with me? Great. Send me a calendar invite, right? Say, hey, look, I got 5 minutes for you. Send me a calendar invite for a 5-minute chat, okay? And hold them to that. Now, look, here's the thing about that. It takes discipline, not for them. It takes discipline for you. It takes discipline for you to say, I got 5 minutes for you. Send me a calendar invite, right? You need to set your technology so that your slots are set for 5 minutes, right? So that calendar invite only allows them to schedule 5 minutes. And then you hold it to a 5-minute call. That's what you got for them, right? And then you also have to be able to have a filter to be able to say, I talk about this thing, I didn't create it, right? I think it's created by a woman named Jasmine Weiss, who had this book called, I can't remember what it was called, back in 1991. Career Comeback. Anyways, she talked, it's the 4 Ds, right? Do, delete, delegate, delay. And you got to be able to hear and ascertain, like, hey, is this something for me, right? And if it's not for me, you got to be able to say, you got to be able to push it away and say, hey, this ain't for me. This is for somebody else, right? And look, the other thing you can lean on is your network. And you can politely say, hey, you know what? This ain't for me, but I got a guy, right? Or I got a gal. Hey, reach out to them, right? That might be able to help you. Or you can offer some advice. Hey, this ain't for me, but this is the type of person you should be reaching out to. Good luck. Right. One of the things that I do in my business, I always love to hear about somebody's business. And there's a couple of reasons. One, I love to freely give advice, because when I freely give advice, it becomes ridiculously obvious that I can help somebody in their business and I don't have to sell it. They're like, hey, how can I quickly pay you and get you involved? And then the other thing is, it becomes quickly obvious that I'm just going to give them some advice and they're going to move on. The other thing is, I have people in my network that, maybe we want to invest in that business idea. So I love hearing about people's businesses. I love talking business. I'll do it anytime. So I've gotten disciplined with that whole approach. And you just need to be disciplined with that. One other thing I want to say about this with the time thing, I'm going to have a whole hour that we can spend on this. one of my values, and I encourage you, and actually I literally teach people to create business values. And one of mine is living should weigh more than working. And so, I said earlier, I'm an expat. I don't live in the States anymore. I live in Colombia, South America. I live in Medellin. And so I work right now. I'm at my house, but most of the time I work at a cafes or in some restaurant, or maybe I'm at a beach, or whatever, right? Because I enjoy it, right? I already worked and lived this stressful life and worked 70 hours a week. I already did all that. And what I learned is that sucks. That's not how I want to spend my time, right? And sometimes it's just about altering your mind to think about what's possible, right? And it is possible to, you hear this term digital nomad. It is possible to spend your time in places where you want to be and work and be effective at the same time. So,
Absolutely, man. The question, they always say that there's no bad questions, right? There's one question that gets under my skin the most, and I don't fault the people for asking it. I really don't. So this is not directed at any particular person. This has to do with me and all of the things that are going on in my head. The one question that gets under my skin the most is when somebody sends me communication, and the communication is this: can I ask you a question? My response is always the same. You just did. That was it. That was the question. You had one, and that was your question. And I joke a lot. So you guys that have been following me for some time know my sense of humor is dark, and these are typically for my students or people that I already have a relationship with. But the message that I'm trying to hit home is, look, be direct, value time like I do. And the reason why I say value time like I do is because in many cases, when people want to get guidance, not just from me, but for anybody that is actually doing the thing at the level that you want to eventually do it, you have to respect their time. And that's just an exercise that I incorporate into our communication, just to kind of politely say, hey, we don't need the pleasantries, just go ahead and jump to it. Don't rely on one income stream is another one. Now, this doesn't mean, well, James, I'm going to let you go first because I know how you feel about people having 4 and 5 different side hustles. And then I'll give my input on this. So it's a mistake because if that one income stream dries up, you're out of business. Your business dries up. All right. James, what's your perspective on not relying on one income stream?
Yep. So, I think, my perspective, there's a lot of my perspective that are different than others. I think that it's important to understand that my perspective comes from working for these giant companies that have everything figured out. And entrepreneurs are constantly trying to figure bleep out. Okay. And you don't have to just copy businesses that have it figured out. And here's the other thing. I have a saying, I have a million sayings, I call them Jamesisms. And one of them is there's these sayings out there that people believe because they're sayings. And one of them is we need multiple income streams. Here's the thing. Multiple income streams doesn't mean multiple businesses. Okay? So what happens is a person has a business, and because that business isn't making enough income, they start some other business. And because now we've got 2 businesses, and now you're spending your time in 2 different places, you're not as effective in either business, and so you're not making enough money in both businesses. So you start a 3rd business, and you're not making enough money in 3 businesses, so you start a 4th business. You see how that happens?
Yeah.
But you hear this term vertically integrated. And what that means is you can have multiple income streams in the same business. Now that makes sense, okay? So remember the example I gave with the guy with the candles. So he had 1 candle and he was making some money, but then he had 2 candles. That's 2 income streams, but it's the same business. Let me give you a great example. I was managing this car dealership, and it was a huge car dealership, but it was brilliant with the way this business was structured. Okay, multi-billion-dollar company, brilliant how it was structured. So we're selling 1,800 cars a month. That's massive. I've never heard of a car dealership that sold that many businesses. So I'm pretty sure it was the largest in the country. Okay, so we did $365 million a year. All right, so 1,800 cars a month. You have to wash and clean all those cars. right? So if you have to wash and clean 1,800 cars, right? So at any time, we had 3,000 cars on our lot. And if you have to wash and clean 3,000 cars, well, why not start a business washing and cleaning cars? You're already washing and cleaning 3,000 cars, right? So we vertically integrated. We already had the facilities in place. We're washing and cleaning more cars than any car wash that you will see out there. So we just opened that up to the public and started making some side money on that, right? We started that detailing business, right? So it was internal and external, that business. Hey, so we have a shop. The shop has to fix the cars. So if we're already fixing cars, why not open it up to the public, right? So that is creating multiple income streams, but you're doing it within your business. You're not starting a brand new business. That doesn't make any sense, right? Because when you're doing that, you're diverting your time and it makes you less effective.
I'm uncomfortable right now. I'm going to be honest with you. Because I actually agreed with 100% of everything that you said. And that's not, I don't know where we go from here. It's not I guess we'll move on. Thank you for that. Right. I was ready to pull the trigger and, offer my perspective. I was like, he's 100% correct. So I'll say I agree. I thought you were going to go a different direction, man. I didn't think you were going to bring it back to having multiple revenue streams in the same business. On the service side, so that's a physical. But they have a physical product that they're selling in the example that he gave. On the service side, a good example of having multiple revenue streams would be like having partnerships, affiliate agreements, subscriptions, all of those things within the same field. And I actually experienced some of that. Some of the services that I was already using, I ended up getting affiliate agreements with. And I didn't even know I could do that. I was using their services and recommending their services in my in our real estate family because it was the best product. Right now, no product's perfect, but this is the best one. One example is PropStream. So when people come into our real estate family, I was always recommending PropStream. There was 4 things that you need to run your real estate operation when you start. PropStream, so you can check public records, rentometer.com, so you can check rental rates, a landing page, so you can have a presence online, and eForms, a Rocket Lawyer, so you can utilize the basic documents to be able to conduct business. So I was props. I think James, I think you may have reached out to PropStream. Either you reached out to PropStream. Yeah, I think you reached out to PropStream, and you had sent me that they set me up with this affiliate link, and they give people a discount when they sign up for PropStream through my affiliate link. And for like 8 months, I was getting this check, and I had no idea what this check was, where it was coming from. It didn't say PropStream. It said like bill.com. And and I was almost mad. I was like, I didn't sign up for no bill.com, and I ain't paying this X amount of but it was PropStream sending me an affiliate check. So unintentionally, that was another revenue stream that just came out of nowhere. Right. So I'm fully on board with that. I think that there's 2 things. One, you should look at all the opportunities. That's why I love multifamily commercial real estate, because all of the different revenue streams within that process add value to the building, right? That's one of the major advantages to invest in a multifamily commercial over residential. But in the context of normal business, I think 2 things. One, you should look at, just like James explained, all the different revenue streams within the business being the operative phrase, right? Within the business. But the second thing is, shoot, I just lost my train of thought. But the second thing is, dang, I just lost my train of thought. All right, we're gonna move forward. Man, I should have did the second thing first. That was happening when you got kids. You start forgetting stuff you ain't supposed to. All right, we're gonna keep it going. All right, don't rely on one income stream. That's what we spoke about. The next one is don't skip market research. Don't get into something and you've done 0 research. I feel like I got early. Y'all ever feel like y'all got early onset Alzheimer's? Okay, forget it. All right, don't skip market research. Market research is extremely important, but it's more important for the scale up conversation than it is. Now, I'm not saying it's not important. I said it's more important for the scale up conversation than it is when you're getting into the business initially. And it's going to be different depending on the business that you're in. Now, in multifamily commercial real estate, a lot of the companies that deal with market research are companies like Yardi Matrix or CoStar or some of these large companies that charge you a tremendous amount to compile all of this data so that on the analytics side, you can use that data to make informed decisions. So it's going to depend on two things. One, the market research itself, and two, the knowing the type of research that you are going to need or the type of data that you are going to need to go ahead and improve your business. James, would you agree? Or you got something you want to add there?
Yeah, not a ton to add. I mean, my rules, right? Rule number 5: we make good business decisions based on data and not emotion. And so, if you don't have that data, you can't make good business decisions.
Amen. Amen. We can move on. The next one is don't avoid sales. If you can't sell, your business can't survive. I'm not even going to spend a whole lot of time on that. That is it. That is the whole thing. If you can't sell, your business can't survive. So learn the basics of sales and actively practice your pitch. Now go ahead, James, because I'm going to bring this back to real estate, and I hope I don't forget what I'm about to say. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
So I have a ton on this. So I think a lot of people are afraid of sales. A lot of people are afraid of sales. A lot of people go into business and they have this mindset that they're afraid of sales. I think you're just looking at your perspective on sales is not the right perspective to have. I think the way that I would think about it is people. You need to be about people. You need to understand the psychology of people. You need to be a good communicator, because that's all sales is. And you also need to understand that you're always selling, right? You're selling yourself. And as the leader of a business, you're the face of your business. And so you're always selling your business. You're selling the future. You got to look, when you hire people, all right, and you have employees, you're selling the idea of your business to your employees and the future and the vision of your business to your employees, right? When you have vendors and partners that you want to work with, it's the same thing. You're selling that vision to them. So you're constantly selling the vision of what you want to accomplish to those that are out there. And then obviously you've got to sell to your clients, right? When you have salespeople, especially early on in your entrepreneurship, who's going to train them? Who's going to train them, right? Look, I have a post on my Instagram. It says that there's a lot of things that you can coach without being an expert, but sales isn't one of them. Okay. In order to coach sales, you absolutely have to be an expert at sales. And so I agree with that 100%. If you own a business, you have to start to love sales and be about sales. And all that really is, again, is communication, people, and the psychology of understanding how people think, how people operate, what people like, people's personalities, the different types of personality profiles. Incredibly important.
Yeah, you want to get better at sales, master your craft. If you are engaging in the sales of a product or a service and you believe that that is the best product or service, sales is going to get a lot easier for you. So in our industry, in the real estate investing side, I guess the sales conversations they happen more when you are talking to somebody in a tough situation that owns a home and you are looking to purchase that home from them and you are providing a solution for them. If you are not well versed in your craft, then it's very hard to overcome objections, right? And I think that's where people get stumped when it comes to the conversations about real estate investing education. I believe I have the best product out there. So the conversations are really, really easy. I don't get nervous. I don't have to think about, okay, well, what if they say this? What if they say that? They can say whatever they want to because all I got to do is tell them the truth. The truth is we offer more support than anybody. The truth is apples for apples, we cost 80% less than our closest competitors. The truth is I'll make a guarantee that I will turn you into a real estate investor or die trying. That means that you will stay on with me until you become a seasoned real estate investor. Those things are really easy to communicate to people. There's not a lot of fluff that goes that goes along with that. So if you want to get better at sales, master your craft. I also suggest, and this is something that goes along with all of this, do a business plan. And it's a lot of people think that, okay, well, I don't need funding yet, or I don't need to give the business plan to anybody to accomplish any objective at this time. Do a business plan, learn how to do one, because I did a business plan. You guys have heard me mention it before. That I didn't plan on using that business plan for anything or giving it to anybody, not a bank for funding, not investors or any of that. I did the business plan because I wanted to make sure that I had to confront every possible situation that my business can encounter, be able to analyze any situation that it has encountered, or be able to anticipate any situation that it will encounter. So my business plan was almost 100 pages, right? And it wasn't a template. I went from scratch and did all this. And going through the process, I had to confront certain things that I didn't necessarily put a lot of thought into. So I would say, and you can do it for free, folks. I mean, they've got so much technology out there now that it's really easy to do, but I do recommend doing it. Go ahead, James.
So I recommend from a business plan standpoint, because a lot of people think business plan, like, I don't know how to do one. Where do I start? Go to Live Plan. I have no affiliation with them, but you can just Google it, Live Plan. It literally walks you through it step by step. And to Otis's point, going through that process is so eye-opening because it asks you all those questions. It's super comprehensive. It's not quick, okay? And so you're not going to do it in one sitting. It's not going to happen. It's going to take you weeks, right? But it's the process. It forces you to dig in and ask all these questions about your business that you never ever would have thought of. And so it absolutely is a great recommendation.
Amen. Don't wait for perfect conditions, folks. Don't wait for perfect conditions. I have these conversations all the time about people that have an idea or want to do something, right? If they're talking to me, they probably want to they probably want to become a real estate investor. And well, okay, let me think about it. Oh, my favorite, let me pray on it. Okay. I don't fight them on that. You are in a particular conversation at this moment in time, and you are communicating with the source that has all of the information available for you to be able to make a decision. Now, if you leave that conversation to think about it, what are you thinking about? Because you should just re-engage in the conversation and ask questions and get to the point where you either want to make a decision, you either want to do it or you don't. Either one is fine. But thinking about it, that is the one thing, and not just in conversations that I have. These are conversations that I've experienced throughout my life with people. Very few people are better off not making this decision relative to the people that are better off for making a decision and then, moving forward. So, don't wait for perfect conditions. Perfectionism delays progress and keeps you stuck. Launch early, improve fast, and iterate based on real feedback. So we make database decisions. You don't have to be perfect. Figure it out along the way, because some of the data you are only going to be able to access through the act of actually doing the thing. Otherwise, if you're trying to plan for every possible scenario, it is impossible. I know that. I teach people how to invest in real estate. A lot of the information I give away for free. I've been doing it the last 4 years. I understand the practical is where the real learning is, which is why we offer so much support in the real world. Now, James, I saw you nod your head when I said that. Don't wait for perfect conditions. What's your thought process on that?
Yeah, so I was talking about this quote. I heard Mark Cuban say, he used to own the Dallas Mavericks, multi-billionaire. He said, you got to get to the point where when you've got, 65, 70% of the information, that's enough, and you just got to move forward. I mean, you're never going to get to this place where you've got all the information. This perfect, that just doesn't exist, right? You got to be able to take risks. You got to be able to deal with ambiguity, which is like things can mean multiple things, and like that's just kind of how it works. Yeah, a lot of that's fear too, right? Is we don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to lose money. There's a whole bunch of reasons to be afraid. A whole bunch of valid reasons to be afraid. We just got to do stuff while we're afraid. When we own a business, we shoulder that burden. That's just part of owning a business. Everybody else, gets to, take a check and work the 9 to 5 and clock in and out. We don't have that.
You start resenting them.
Yeah, we don't have that. We don't have that luxury, right? Yeah, we do, right? I used to look at these people, man. They clock it in and out, man, and I'm like, man, I wish I could have that life, but that's just the reality of it, man.
Yeah, man. The next one is don't ignore customer feedback. I can. I think I come from a place of I'm always looking for the bad stuff. The good stuff is great, right? If you go online and kind of look at what we're doing, every review we've ever gotten has been 5-star. Now it's possible maybe somebody didn't have a great experience; they just didn't leave a bad review. But I'm always looking for that person to see what the end user experience was if it wasn't perfect, and see what I can do to improve it constantly, 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 right? And another reason we call it a real estate family, so everybody's comfortable enough to be like, hey, this email system you're using isn't working, or the way you have the lessons organized is too hard to find them. Like all of those things help us grow and help us get to a point where things run streamlined and smooth, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the end user experience. And I think the best marketing is treating the people you're already engaging with as well as possible, because they're going to be your voice. They're going to be the ones talking good behind your back when you're not around. So don't ignore customer feedback. You're missing opportunities to improve your offer and your overall service. Ask for reviews, ask for surveys, ask for testimonials to refine your product or service. I tell people, look, I haven't done it in a long time, but if you go to meetotis.com, you can leave, there's actually, I don't know if it's on there anymore. My last electronic business card, there was a tab on there you could leave a review. And I would tell people, after talking for 2 hours, giving free information about real estate investing and going over strategies, hey, if you guys felt that there was any value here, and feel free to leave us a review. And I put the link up, and the people that wanted to would, and the people that didn't, they didn't, right? For the 4 Data Points Academy. And I would read all of these. I would read all these reviews. I would see what people like and put more time and resources into that. And the people that maybe didn't have the best experience, I would ask them, I say, if your experience with me has been anything but 5-star, let me know what it's going to take to get it to a 5-star, because that information is valuable too, right? Because maybe it's something that I don't know. And you've got to be willing to put your ego aside to go ahead and solicit this feedback. It doesn't always feel good, right? Doesn't always feel good, right? But James, what's your input on that?
Yeah, one of the most common mistakes that business owners make is because they feel like their business is like their baby, right? They put all this passion into it. They take feedback about their business personal. Folks, it's not personal. It's about your business. It's just data. And so there's a couple things. You gotta think that your feedback about your business is gold. It's absolute gold. It's literally your customer telling you how to make more money. Literally.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Second tip for you: you got to figure out how to get people who have negative feedback to get a hold of you personally. Okay. You want, like, put your personal phone number, like, get some sort of way where people have access to your personal phone number so they can get a hold of you, or your personal email, whatever it is. You want people with negative feedback to reach you directly. Why? Because again, they're telling you how to make more money. So if somebody who had a bad experience can get a hold of you as quickly as possible, you could solve the problem right then and there and make more money. So you improve your business overall, but you can also fix that scenario right there and make a sale.
Amen. Quick reset. We're talking about 40 don'ts for entrepreneurs. I'll tie in some of the real estate. Also, we got James and Rose here on TikTok. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and we're going to keep rocking out. You guys on TikTok that shared the page, thank you very much. This is a new page for us, so we're trying to grow it. I think we're about to hit the 900 follower mark or something like that. But again, the more opportunities that we get, the more opportunities that we create for people that wouldn't necessarily have access to them. You guys on Clubhouse, feel free to throw any questions in the chat or raise your hand, come up on stage if you want to ask any questions. We don't schedule rooms on Clubhouse anymore. We just do the pop-up stuff when we're doing other live streams. So make sure you guys have all my contact information if you want access to additional content or some of the free lessons that I like to give out. Some of the things that we have going, we have an international business retreat in Medellin, Colombia, for the first week of Q4 this year. If you guys want more information about that, it is called ventureu.live. That's the website. You can, we're actually redoing our website, but feel free to reach out for more information. That's for entrepreneurs and people that want to be entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs that are looking to scale up. If you're an entrepreneur right now and you're at the $10 million mark for revenue, I can't help you. You're already, we're trying to get people to where you are. And I'm very transparent with the people that we are trying to help. So we are looking for people to get up to the, $1 to $5 million mark. I'm flying in all of the consultants to be able to dissect every aspect of your business. So by the time you leave there, you have the blueprint, you know exactly what you need to do to move forward. That being said, 4datapoints.com, the number 4, DATAPOINTS, is a website. If you want all my information, where to find me, how to text me, how to reach me, you can go to meetotis.com. Otis is spelled with a D. Meet, MEET, Otis, ODIS.com. And I'm probably got some free stuff there for you as far as lessons, the 4 data points guide on how to assess a deal, and so on and so forth. So the next one we're talking entrepreneurs today. Don't spend without a budget. That's a hard one to keep, right? It's easy to say, hard to keep, because, James, go ahead, James. I'll tap in right after you, brother. Don't spend without a budget.
I think that's pretty simple, man.
Yeah, you'll run out of cash. That's what it is. I will say this: set a monthly budget, review it regularly. And I know it's tough because one of the challenges with doing that is, as an entrepreneur, your income isn't always consistent. So there are months where you're going to have to prioritize where you're going to spend your money, because you may not have enough money to cover everything that needs to be covered. And James alluded to this before. The priority should go towards things that are going to make you additional money, right? But make sure you have a budget and you can at least see it and know where to spend your money. Don't mix personal. Go ahead, Rose.
Okay.
Yeah, the exhale for that one. Go ahead, Rose.
I really do have to exhale for this one because, I'm in the credit space, I'm in the funding space, and I get clients that come to me looking for money. And what you just said as far as budgeting, and I have to repeat this every time, and a lot of entrepreneurs are on fight or flight mode, right? And when they're in a hole, they, in their minds, they think that if I go and get this loan, then it will get me out of the hole. But that is the recipe of robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? All you're doing is digging yourself further in a hole. We have 30 days in a month, right? And if we do set some budgets together, and these are some tips that I can give you guys, but like Otis just said before I interrupted him, where he said, put your money into income producing activities, right? You have 30 days. If you know that you're in a hole, and let's say you do come into some money, you do get approved for some funds just to get you back in the black, call all of your creditors, right? Call all of your creditors and set up an arrangement, right? Give yourself some time so that way the funds that you do get, that you're going to put in your business, that's going to produce more income, you'll be in a better position than to get the funds to then put into debt that you have to pay down, and now you're left with just a little bit. It is going to put you right back into the same cycle. And what happens is that when we're operating, especially when we don't have business credit, and we're operating from our personal, and we're maxing out our cards, or we've maxed out even the loans that we can get from different companies, and they're, giving you the 29% interest on a $20,000 loan. You just added an additional debt when it could have just gone towards some income producing activity, whether it's to hire someone so that way you can have extra hands or two, so that way you can meet, the quota, or maybe you can put it towards marketing, leads, whatever it is that you need to do. But it has to go towards progression, then putting it towards something that's going to push you back. I hear this all the time, and I have to I have to help people just plan, budget and plan where to put the funds. And this is a topic that we really need to tap into the most, not more so getting into business, but also growing a business and where to put your money. Because I don't think a lot of people think about it, because everyone's trying to do everything themselves, not realizing that you cannot do it by yourself. Like, they need to sit with you, as you need a mentor. They're the cheat code. Instead of trying to figure things out, you lean on someone, or lean on the shoulder of a giant that's been there, done that. Why would you be at the bottom of the forest trying to look through the trees and trying to navigate to get to the promised land? Why are we doing this by ourselves? And that's stress in itself. And every time I think about it, I'm stressed just thinking about it. Oh,
Amen.
okay. I'll yield the mic.
Amen. James, I know you got to run, man. You want any final thoughts before you tap out?
Yeah. So two. So one, on this budgeting thing, one of the most powerful things that I teach is any business, but especially the newer folks, is I teach how to do a P&L. It's not really what people think. The most powerful things that you get from a P&L is it teaches you how a dollar impacts your business and which dollars impact your business the most. And so it truly helps you from a budgeting standpoint, because it shows you which dollars you're wasting and which dollars, when you spend it, you make more money. So last thing I'll say is, look, you don't have to try to figure everything out, right? That's really the core of what I do, is that entrepreneurs are always trying to figure stuff out, kind of shooting from the hip. And there's businesses out there that have everything figured out. That's why they've been around 100 years. That's why they make billions and billions of dollars. And so tap in with me if you want me to help. Follow me in all the places. At Let James Help on Instagram, TikTok. Just follow me for the folks that are on TikTok right now. Peace, man.
All right, man. Appreciate you. I'll catch up with you soon. So the next one, don't mix personal and business finances. I know sometimes it feels like you don't have a choice, but with respect to specific bank accounts, I wouldn't. What's up, Tim? Tim, I think I was trying to get a hold of you a few weeks ago for something, but I'm gonna have to tap in with you. Don't mix personal and business with your bank accounts, though that can be considered commingling funds, depending on your situation, where with the state and statute and all the things that go along with that. But it creates tax, legal, and tracking headaches. Now, with credit cards, and I know some people have to use personal credit cards for business because their business credit cards are maxed, and I get it. That's just the entrepreneurship. It is what it is, right? But make sure you talk to tax professionals, and make sure you get some assistance with your bookkeeping and how you need to set that up. Even if you just do it on a spreadsheet, even if you do it on QuickBooks, just make sure you talk to qualified professionals. They'll give you some insight on how to set that up. Another thing is, don't work without contracts. I see this in real estate all of the time. Now, there are probably 3 people on this planet that I would work with without a contract. And we would still even have a contract in place if the professional relationship was going to be extended, or it was going to be a significant amount of money involved. And the contract wouldn't be in place because we don't trust each other. It would be in place to preserve the relationships. 2 people can come together to do business and both have good intentions, but interpret the same thing differently, causing disagreements. So make sure you don't work without contracts. Verbal agreements lead to misunderstandings and legal exposure. So use clear written agreements for all clients, vendors, and partnerships, right? This shows up on the real estate side when people want to invest together. Like, I'll get a call and it'll be, hey, I invested with, my cousin, and now we got into this, and now there's a disagreement, and so on and so forth. I'll say, okay, well, let me see what your paperwork. Let me see your paperwork. Let me see the document that governs how that interaction is supposed to go. Now, when we invest with groups, it's typically the operating agreement, but it could be a joint venture agreement depending on the transaction. Just make sure you have your paperwork in order. When you're doing a construction project, when we have a rehab that we are going through, our paperwork is in order. For example, we have a contractor agreement. We have a scope of work, which is the framework of what's to be done on the asset. We have a payment schedule with outlines who gets paid for what and when. We have insurance. We want to make sure that we have that document, their general liability, their workman's comp insurance. We have a W-9, that's paperwork. We have lien releases, right? If I pay you for doing a job, once that lien release is signed, that says, look, we both did what we said we were going to do, and there are no consequences for either of us for not performing. So understanding working with contracts can put you in a really, really bad situation. Doesn't have to be a super complicated contract. You don't have to go out and hire an attorney most of the time. All you need to do is have 4 elements met. It has to be legal. You have to have capacity, be in your right mind. There has to be an offer and an acceptance or a form of agreement and consideration. There has to be something of value, right? So legality, capacity, agreement, consideration, right? If you can meet those 4 elements, you can write it on a napkin and it'll still pass. Now, I'm not a contract attorney, and I think that if you are doing something significant, maybe it's wise to seek the counsel of an attorney. I've been doing this long enough to where I can put my own contracts together. If I'm doing something, if I'm venturing into a new space, then I will have my attorney draft the contract, and then I will keep that and just make variations of it as I move forward. All right. Let me see. So don't work without contracts. Have your paperwork in order. Don't ignore financial reports. I know some of you folks that are starting out don't necessarily have financial reports yet, but if you have a payment processing company that you're utilizing, they have financial reports. So you can't grow what you don't measure. So that's probably your first taste at analytics, but it's going to help you track your income. It's going to help you track expenses most of the time if you have that tied into your payment processing. And it's going to show you key metrics monthly. For example, how much are you spending per client? There are reports in there that will help you determine that. What is your cost per unit, right? There are reports in there that will help you determine that. How many clients do you have? There are reports in there that will help you determine that. And based on those reports, you can kind of develop a roadmap for where you want to go, right? Especially if you're somebody that's looking for repeat customers, all right? Don't hire too quickly. A bad hire can be expensive and distracting. In our first 4 years, the people that were involved with the 4 Data Points Academy, they had professional relationships, but I did not hire them directly. All right. And I had, there's reasons for that. One of those reasons are some of these guys I grew up with, and they're brilliant in what they do. And I wanted them to eventually develop their own brand. So there's a lot to that for me. But there are people that when I outsource, I brought them on a little quicker than I should have, right? But because I outsourced and they were 1099, I could fire quickly too. Right? It's okay to be wrong, just don't be wrong long. All right. So again, that's going to be different depending on your business, whether it's a product-based business or a service-based business. It's going to be nuanced. It's going to be a little bit different. Don't neglect marketing. Marketing is, if I could do it all over again, I would have allocated a majority of what I spent elsewhere into marketing. And that's just something I had to learn the hard way, right? The more people that know about us, the better off we are. We've got the best product for what we do. So all we have to do is let more people know who we are. And the more people that know who we are, the less those people are going to go elsewhere, because elsewhere can't compete. All right. Again, if you guys have any questions on any platform, just go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm going platform to platform, but I will answer them. We're going to rock out probably about another 15, 20 minutes. We're just going off of 40 don'ts for entrepreneurs. My background, I've always had an entrepreneurial heart. I took, even outside of real estate, you guys know I took $585, created a company that went on to generate 7 figures. Not the first company that I had. I had a national notary signing agency. I've had real estate brokerage, mortgage brokerage. Well, the mortgage brokerage I ran with my father. 4 Data Points Academy. This is, this is another one of the businesses. This is the only businesses that I'm going to scale up. We are going to be the largest real estate training platform for real estate investors in the country. And so there are conversations that I'm having now that I didn't have to have with my other businesses because the other businesses did so well so fast. And I knew there was no longevity in those businesses because that's not what I wanted to do, right? That's not where I wanted to make my money. So, 4 Data Points Academy is the business that is going to be here long after I'm gone. All right. So number 16, don't ignore your brand identity. First of all, you got to figure out what your brand identity is, right? We teach people how to invest in real estate, and we are branching into personal development, sales training, and leadership training. And we are a business that operates with integrity first and extreme transparency, all right? Because that is our brand identity. We don't just chase every dollar that's out there. As a matter of fact, that's why a lot of people gravitate towards what we do because they know that we're not money hungry. And a lot of people that have been following me for some time, they see how we've created opportunities for people with absolutely nothing to gain. That's my brand identity. And I don't ignore that. I understand my way of being, our brand identity, who I am, what we're about is my greatest asset. So I'm not going to compromise that for a dollar, even if I'm in the right, even if it's perfectly legal and ethical. I'm really big on optics. And if something looks a certain way, if it looks bad, if it looks off brand, then I'm not going to do it, right? Inconsistent branding confuses potential customers. So establish a clear visual and verbal identity across all platforms. So now we're talking about marketing and branding in its literal sense. Now, I talk about our way of being and kind of our values and all those things, but there are certain things that remain consistent across all platforms. Something as simple as a branding kit. A branding kit is making sure you are using the same color codes in all your communication and fonts, right? So, so if you guys are, new entrepreneurs, you could just Google what a branding kit is and all of the things that it entails. Even this technology that we use, Canva, a lot of us use Canva. Canva has a space in there for you to establish your branding kit. So you can always go back to the same yellows, the same greens, the same blue, all of these things for when you're doing your communication. Now, sounds like a small thing, but it's very, very important, right? Especially when it comes to the psychology of sales. You've got to maintain continuity in how you present yourself. All right. All right. 17, don't base everything on emotion. Emotional decisions can lead to costly errors. You're either going to learn that the easy way or you're going to learn that the hard way. Emotional decisions will land you into the poorhouse and it'll increase liability, right? There are certain things, and I'm a victim of it too, right? Let me not say a victim because it's a choice. I'm guilty of it too, making some emotional decisions. All right. I've missed out on what possibly could have been some major opportunities because I didn't like the tone that it was asked or presented. Right. I was asked multiple times and on these platforms. So some of you guys remember this, you guys on Clubhouse, especially, I've been asked to be on TV twice to do 2 TV shows. I said no each time. And it wasn't, I say maybe it was in an emotional no, but it was the people that were asking at that moment in time. I felt like they didn't respect me as their competition, right? And they didn't respect me as a threat in the marketplace and that they were minimizing my ability to outperform them. So I said, no, I'm not going to be on your TV show. Right? I'm the one you need to be worried about. Now, on the outside looking in, there were some people that were, impressed by that, but there were some people that were like, man, look, you got to take advantage of every opportunity and, so on and so forth. And I'm like, there's certain opportunities I just don't want to, I just don't want to, I don't want to take, right? I'll know when it's right. But that could be interpreted as an emotional decision. All right. So just keep that in mind. Also, it really depends on the circumstances, right? Now, when I was in corporate, I didn't make any emotional decisions. I didn't take anything personally because I was hired to do a job and to look out for the best interests of the company as a whole. And I think that's what people forget. So I didn't take anything personally, but I gave them my word that I would do that and perform at the best of my ability. So if somebody, if somebody was off base and something rubbed me the wrong way, I never even showed it because it's not my place to do that, right? I took away the luxury of having an emotional response. All right. Now, Dwayne, is that Dwayne, I don't know if that's the true Dwayne, man. We didn't have a couple Dwaynes. Come on up, man. Shoot me a quick text message if that's you, Dwayne. Dwayne Williams. Is that the real Dwayne Williams? Shoot me a text message, man, because you've got so much value to add, especially in the entrepreneurial conversations. But I don't want to bring up the wrong Dwayne, and I know you got some imposters. So please, brother, go ahead and shoot me a text if that is you. Now, don't skip a business plan. We talked about that earlier. This is number 18 on the list. I put it as 18, but it should probably be a little higher. I probably should have put it around 9 or 10. And the reason why I say don't skip a business plan, we talked about it. It is the blueprint for your business. And even if you're not ready to get funding, there are certain conversations that you need to have internally that a business plan is going to force you to need to have. So let me look back on Clubhouse. What James say? He said, was it liveplan.com? Christy, I think it was live. Yeah, it was liveplan.com. And it's a free service and it'll force you to give yourself a roadmap for where you're trying to take your business. All right. That's important. I should have put that at like number 7. Don't get attached to one idea. Every time I come up with an idea or a way to do a particular thing, and I decide that that's going to be the way forward, the next thing that I determine is how to kill it. I'll give you an example. I've got an idea, taxi cab business. Now, I didn't have the foresight. Now, this obviously I'm talking about this stuff that's already happened, right? I didn't invent taxi cabs, but we all know the whole taxi cab situation and what Uber did to the taxi cab industry, right? Taxi industry was the idea. Uber came along and killed it. All right. So in my experience, real estate education, right? I already know that there are companies that are selling the information for far more than the information is worth on its own. I know that they do not put more focus. No, heading to 1 p.m. Let's try to duck out this week. Okay. All right. Okay, so that is not the right Dwayne. All right, let's try to talk after so we can. Okay, cool. All right, so it's not the right Dwayne. It's an imposter right there. All right, so so the taxi cab business, we all know what that is. We all know what Uber did to it. Now, I look at the real estate education training industry, and I can see that they're overpricing the information. Everybody's overpricing the information, and they're calling it mentorship, but it's really not mentorship. The level of support is mediocre at best. And I know why the industry is that way because I know how much it costs to support somebody for a long period of time. It costs time and resources. So the ones that do offer ongoing support offer ongoing pricing too. The two that come to mind charge $25,000 a year and $35,000 a year, respectively. So then they make money because you invest in their multifamily projects and, so a bunch of other stuff. So when I got into teaching people how to invest in real estate, I didn't want to do that. I just felt like, because I knew better. So if I knew better and tried to utilize that same business model, I knew I'd be doing people a disservice and I couldn't knowingly do that. Right. Which is why we offer unlimited support. And you don't have to keep paying. Right. So, but even then I'm thinking forward to saying, okay, well, what is the real estate training industry going to look like 5 years from now and 10 years from now? Okay. And what other things are people going to need? So let's say they do become successful in real estate. And, I've got some students that have been with me 3 and 4 years that are now, they've got 20 doors, 25 doors, going on 30 doors. So now what about them? Well, I said, okay, well, now it's time to get vertically integrated, buying and selling businesses, creating businesses to support your existing businesses and having your own little ecosystem of businesses all surrounding this empire that you're building. So now we need to get into entrepreneurship training. Okay, so now that we're in entrepreneurship training and we're teaching people how to be entrepreneurs and teaching people how to scale up their businesses to a certain level, what happens when they're successful then? Well, that's not going to automatically guarantee that they have a positive quality of life. We need to get into personal development. And we need to get into the psychology behind what we think when we look at ourselves in the mirror. And I'm not qualified, nor do I have the credentials to teach those things. So I'm going to bring in Dr. Alfred Smith, because that's his area of expertise. He's going to lead that division. So all of these things, I'm looking ahead so that I'm not stuck behind the curb when the industry shifts. All right. 10 years from now, there may not be, we don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm not going to rely on one particular thing to take me all the way to the promised land. All right. So I don't get attached to one idea, but I'm also not all over the place. See, some people are like, oh, I want to open up a barbecue stand. Oh, and I want to sell clothes online, and I want to, whatever. Right. All of my ideas surround entrepreneurship, wealth mindset, personal development, because they all tie into each other. All right. Now, what's up? Is that Ant? Is that you, Ant? Now, don't ignore time management. I had a conversation with, this is a hiring person in the multifamily commercial industry. And this person, I knew them outside of work. So I wasn't in the context of trying to apply for a job. We were at an event. Sometimes I'll go to the multifamily commercial industry events that the vendors will put on. And this was about a year ago, and I was having this conversation. And this person, you have some people that are just, they get a title and they feel like they are above everybody else. And this person was, and mind you, we're drinking. I'm not. Tequila is not really my thing, but we're drinking, right? And this person was just one of the most annoying people. I've known this person for like 15 years, and this person, I know how much this person makes. I know this person's job performance. Like I know this person, and we are, we're arguing. And this person made a comment about, about one of the properties that I was running some years ago, and they had no idea what was going on with the property. They said, well, maybe if you had better time management, you probably wouldn't have had that issue. And then I lost it. I just went off on this person. Right? I went off on this person. I was like, look, on that year, my development was number one in net operating income. One of my managers got awarded for it. I got the highest evals that I had ever gotten. I had more people get promoted under me than anybody else in the region. And I became a millionaire that year outside of what I was doing. And then fast forward 2 years, made $1 million doing something else completely unrelated. All in the same time that you were at that same job. Like we were going in, right? So, I had to, sometimes you got to let people know, what it is, right? So the don't ignore time management thing, that's either going to help you or it's going to hurt you, right? And I understand that that's something that people are trying to figure out in the beginning, right? We're trying to have work-life balance and all of these different things. Don't think that you have to have it completely dialed in, but having a good time management routine should be the natural progression of what it is you're doing when you're entering the real estate investing space. Man, I just had a hot flash thinking about that person. Anyway, sorry. Let me get back. So if you ignore time management, you'll constantly feel behind or overwhelmed. So you can use tools like calendars and time blocks and task prioritization. There's all these types of things that you can do, right? And eventually you'll figure it out. Right? Don't overpromise and underdeliver. I always underpromise and overdeliver, always. So and the reason that I do that is because if anyone ever has the audacity to complain about anything that I put together or anything that I've done, I've over-delivered so much that they wouldn't be able to articulate it to the general public or anybody else that was involved because they'd feel silly. Right? And if they do their research, they'd realize that if they were going to get that outcome anywhere else, it would cost them so much more in resources to be able to do that, right? So part of my brand, and it's not just as an entrepreneur, when I was in the corporate environment, I would over deliver, over deliver, over deliver. All right. I didn't have to, but again, being an entrepreneur actually helps you in the corporate environment because the standard for, the grind is the threshold is so much lower in the corporate environment, right? People start folding anyway. All right. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. You'll lose trust and repeat customers. That is something that can take your business down. Overpromising and underdelivering. Now, while you're trying to figure it out, you may believe you can achieve a certain outcome. I've done it before too, right? I've done it before too. So I didn't know I was overpromising. I thought I was just promising to deliver the appropriate outcome, but there were things beyond my control that influenced that. So what happens when you go down that road and you realize, dang, I done messed it up? You know what I say? I go back to the person and I say, I messed this up, man. I messed this up, and I'll make it right as soon as I can. Right? I've had situations over the years where I was supposed to deliver on a particular thing, and I gave it 100% effort, but because of things beyond my control, I wasn't able to do that. And the person that paid me, now this wasn't this wasn't for Data Points Academy. This is way before. The person that paid me for that outcome, I had used that money to pay for some of the systems that were going to help me deliver that outcome to this person. And then I couldn't do it. And I didn't have the money to give them back. So you know what I did? I called them immediately. The moment that, and this hurt, man, this was tough because, perception and all that. And you're trying to, build yourself up to this, you're trying to build yourself up to this particular thing and this particular level. And I call this person immediately and says, hey man, I explained exactly what happened. I explained my decision-making process. I explained the things that happened that were beyond my control. And I told that person, look, I'm not making excuses. I'm going to deliver. I just want to be transparent with you about why I'm in this situation so I can let you know that I wasn't mismanaging anything and I didn't have, poor intentions. Like, this is exactly what it is. I'm going to do everything in my power to make it up to you. I don't even have the money to give you back because the money that you gave me, I put into X, Y, and Z. I explained all those and I explained the expected outcome. That person was like, Otis, I know you. I'm not worried about that. You'll get it when you get it. And this person, I'm not going to say this person's name, but this person said, how much money do you need to achieve the outcome? And I told them, and I'm full transparent. I said, I probably need about, X, Y, and Z dollars, but if I got to borrow and get it and do, they said, I'll write you a check. I will write you a check. And they appreciated that way of being and that integrity. And it didn't feel good, right? It's humiliating for me, but they said, hey, I'll write you a check. Just give it to me when you get it. Now, to this person, that was a very, very small amount of money. But to me, starting out, it was a significant amount. And, God bless that person, too. I said I'm not going to say their name. That person's no longer with us. They passed away. Yeah. So, all right, that was awkward, right? I killed the room. All right. All right. Don't ignore legal requirements. I'm not even going to dignify that with an explanation. You could face fines, lawsuits, and get shut down. All right. Make sure you hire the proper consultants. Make sure you register your business. Make sure you pay your taxes and make sure you follow compliance rules. In real estate, it is far more evident, about whether you're in compliance or not because you're dealing with so many people. So make sure you do that. Don't copy competitors blindly. What works for them may not work for you. Learn from others, but build your own strategy tailored to your audience. When I didn't get into teaching people how to invest in real estate and then creating a company to do so because I saw what other people are doing. Other businesses doing the same thing. It's not because I saw what they were doing. I saw what they were lacking and built my business out of necessity. Because I'm thinking about, the 68-year-old, grandma who only has limited resources that's given it to these companies and not achieving the outcome that she expects to achieve. I think it's almost criminal. And I kept seeing that over and over and over. So I started teaching people and training people for Data Points Academy didn't even exist. I was doing it under my investment company, James Street Capital. We just got so big so fast that I had to start incorporating all these systems and scaling up and doing all these other things to make sure that I could have a good end user experience. And then we've been building on that ever since. Right. So don't copy competitors blindly is the operative word. Don't wait too long to launch. Do it now. If you can't do it now, figure out why you can't do it now, because that's the challenge, and then come up with a plan to overcome it. If you can't come up with a plan to overcome it, then talk to people that have gone through the same thing. Right? But doing nothing is going to hurt you. Don't treat everyone as a customer. Not everyone is your ideal client. Not everyone is your ideal client. And that is something that people really need to understand. I've had some of these young ladies on some of these social media platforms reach out to me and want to do some cross branding stuff, and they want to leverage their followers. And some of them had 1 million followers. Some of them had 500,000 followers. Hold on one second. You got a package? Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'll go get it in a minute. No, I'll see it. I'll come out in a minute, okay? Okay. All right. Yeah, close the door. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, I'm working. Yeah. Hey, man. A little bit. Say, hey, you got a package. All right. So I had some of these social media influencers come to me and say, hey, they want to collaborate on some stuff. And look at them sneaking back in. If you guys are on Instagram or Facebook, you see them sneaking back in. What's up, buddy? All right. Where's Mama Gloria? She went bye-bye? Yeah. Okay. I'll come out there and sit with you then. How about that? Yeah. Okay. You want to watch TV or something? Or we want to go outside? Yeah. Okay. Can I say goodbye to my friends? Yeah. Amen. Amen. Come on. All right, folks. That's the end of this live stream. I've got my little man, and we're going to go do some cool stuff. And yeah, we'll go outside. Yep, I will open the door for the doggy. Yeah, let me just say goodbye, okay? Let me say goodbye to my friends. All right. All right, folks. 4 Data Points Academy, the number 4, DATAPOINTS. We were going over 40 don'ts for entrepreneurs. Huh? Okay, I'm almost done, okay? All right, thank you, big guy. All right, 4 Data Points Academy, the number 4, DATAPOINTS. You can go to meetotis.com. That's my electronic business card. We got through about 26 of the 40 don'ts for entrepreneurs. If you guys need to get a hold of me, you should know how to do it by now. Tap my face, go to meetotis.com, go to 4datapoints.com, and I'll make sure we get you taken care of. I'll probably be on, different times throughout the week. We're always on Tuesdays and Thursdays, live streaming at 9 o'clock California time, 9 o'clock a.m. So feel free to tune in for that. That being said, I got to shut it down. Daddy duty time. Clubhouse, appreciate you guys. That link is up the top. I'm going to shut down that room. And we are stopping. Yep, I'm coming right now, buddy. So you ready?